Well, it's happened again. Once again, our hearts are broken by the events in Uvalde, Texas. They were also broken by the Oxford High School shootings. They were broken before that and before that. Because the broken record of tragedy keeps playing on a loop in this broken world, with headlines and breaking news bulletins that seem to rip out a little bit more of our hearts with every new act of evil. Now, I'm well aware that there are experts on school security, gun legislation, and mental health sprinting to the nearest microphones to claim that they have the remedy for all of this sadness. And if you take a little bit from one and mix in a little bit from another, and a pinch of advice from this guy or that lady, you might just end up with a way to delay the time between tragedies so they don't come quite so quickly one after another. There are some things that can be done, but the question everybody's asking, you are as well as me, isn't there some real, lasting solution? There's got to be some way to stop the kid whose heart is so dark that he started off the day killing his own grandmother before turning his attention to elementary school kids. I'd like to suggest a remedy that you'll never hear on the evening news, no matter which network you watch. You see, unless I've missed something, none of these school shooters, none of the gangbangers on the streets driving by and opening fire at each other, and by the way, in case you wonder, the death toll from street crime is exponentially higher. None of the perpetrators come from a loving, two-parent home where faith is at the center. It literally never plays out that way. A few weeks ago, former NFL coach Tony Dungy took a lot of heat for calling out absentee dads in a statement related to another tragic shooting. But the coach was right. Men aren't leading strongly enough. Now, I don't know the family story of the Texas shooter, but in some ways we do know, right? I don't know the family story of the Buffalo grocery store shooter, but in some ways we do know. Because the destruction of the family core, where a loving, leading father is absent, seems to be the consistent thread woven through all of these nightmares. Young boys of all races and income levels are left to themselves to formulate how they deal with things like sadness, anger, and abuse and neglect, and relationships that aren't working out the way they thought they should. And far too often the result is another nightmare filled with innocent victims. So I'm going to be a bit simplistic right now, and I'm going to suggest two words as the remedy for our nation's proclivity for gun violence. Are you ready? It has nothing to do with legislation. You ready? Fathers and faith. Fathers and faith. Dads, you need to be in the home. You need to be leading your sons, not leaving them alone in a dark bedroom where they can mainline all sorts of vile, evil content. You need to lead them in the ways of biblical truth so they can know that whatever sadness and social discomfort, anxiety, stress, and anger that they're dealing with, that all of it can be safely shared with a youth pastor, a counselor, or you. Now, this is in no way intended to be a slight directed at those moms who are trying their very best to raise young boys on their own. Many do a fantastic job, even though they never really anticipated having to serve as both parents. You see, we keep saying we're sick and tired of these tragedies invading our lives, but then we keep expecting someone else to solve the problem. We keep asking the same Congress with a single-digit approval rating to legislate something that really can't be legislated. And so the answer that I believe really comes down to just two simple words: fathers and faith. Fathers and faith.